Alrighty, folks. The audience really loves it when we disagree and disagree passionately. And we got a doozy for you today. The lumberjack still believes we are going to have a housing correction. I'm going to caveat correction versus crash because it's thrown around.
Please.
I call a correction 10%. I call a crash 20%. So we'll just get that out of the way. You are calling correction, not crash.
Yep.
Is that correct, Matt?
I am.
And we made this bet about a year ago, maybe even 18 months ago.
Longer. Yeah, like 18
Longer.
months. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you said by the end of 2024, which again,
Mhm.
you had this 18 months ago, so shout out to you for being ballsy and calling it, that we would see a
We're stupid.
10% crash in residential real estate.
Mhm.
So the first thing I have to ask you on July 10th is do you still believe in your call?
I do. I do. I might have the timing slightly wrong, but I think that, I mean, I'm already seeing it in my market. I don't know what you guys are seeing in yours. But that's for me, hyper local, right? And for me, I see it in my market. I'm seeing, we talked about basically that the median price that the median price would come down 10% from its high.
Correct.
And from so if you look at the charts, it went down from last year, from Q4 of last year into Q1 of this year, it went down about 7.9%. But then we hit spring season, so it catapulted. So I was like,
Okay.
yeah, but I missed it by the 2%. And I was holding on to that. And I was like, because that's one of the things I was also banking on was that winter thing. Being in Siberia and living in a winter climate, I know that a third of the country lives in this climate. And
Sure.
so
Okay.
everything grinds to a halt for those few months. I'm seeing it now in the summer, which is a really good market, or supposed to be.
Mm.
It's supposed
Yeah.
to be a
Yeah.
really good market. So everything that we're seeing and backing up my beliefs by actions, I'm selling all four of the single family homes I bought. I
Okay.
literally, in packages that I bought, I subdivided them, I separated them out in order to sell them because I still think right now the median house price, it broke a record again.
Yep.
It's now really about that top of the market. Rates are still 7. Everybody's still waiting. You and I agreed at the beginning of the year when people were like, 7 rate discount. No, stop. And we were like 2, maybe.
Yeah.
2, maybe. And
Mhm.
I think we're still probably in line for 2, maybe. So
Okay.
I think we'll see maybe a couple before the end of the year. I think that the Fed is going to be shocked at how little that starts things because I
Mm.
think now we're heading into layoffs. I've talked to I still have all the relationships in tech, and now it's with guys our level, right?
Yeah.
Exec
Mhm.
VPs, and they're all talking about their layoff lists, all of them,
Wow.
every single one. So
Okay.
I just think that the economy is due for that, and I think it's large in jobs. I think the thing that I got the most wrong, because I think we'll hit that 10% median house reduction. Hopefully, it's by the end of the year, so I take your dollar. And if not, I still think it's going to be in 25. So the timing might be slightly off, not crash bro off, 4 years, 5 years, but
Right.
definitely off. And I think the biggest thing that I've gotten wrong is I expected jobs to disappear faster.
Got it. Okay.
I
All right.
expected jobs to disappear faster, and they're just not. I mean, we're only at 4%. And, is it a election thing? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. 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 Dion, what do you think of this? I believe you are in my camp that you were saying that a 10% correction from the peak of whatever it was, 2022 was unlikely.
He
What are
said
you
they were going
seeing
to
in
go
your
up.
market?
So, uh, as a parent, you never want to go to your kid and say, you're a bad kid. You want to say, you've done a bad thing, and here's the
Mm.
consequences. So I don't want to go to Matt and go, you're wrong. What I want to say is,
Since
I
when?
think, I think you're a victim, Matt, you're a victim of facts.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So factually, you worked in the tech industry and you're hearing about layoffs coming.
Yeah.
All of tech, the entirety, 100% of it represents 12% of the workforce. So if
Exactly true.
everybody in tech, literally everyone that works in that industry was laid off, it wouldn't impact the world the way you think
Agreed.
because it's
Mhm.
your world.
Mhm.
So I see truck driving. Whatever happens in truck driving, I seem to be the victim of that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And you live in Siberia, so you have really bad seasonality changes, not bad, big
Yep.
changes.
No,
Okay.
it's
And
bad.
and here in Washington, we don't have
Right.
just as much demand in December. And even Beth has been on saying, yeah, it was the middle of December. We just did 160,000 over asking on this house.
Right.
So you're a victim of facts. That's my opinion. So right or wrong. I don't know if you're right or wrong. I'm saying that's what I think where your opinion's coming from. And no, Mike, I wasn't in your camp.
He said up.
I was further up the spectrum.
Yeah, he said up.
I said it's going to go to
He
up
said up.
10% because we are year over year 7% up. So we're closer to 10% up than we are flat. We're 7% higher than flat than we are 10% lower. And yeah, there is some seasonality there. I think the problem is we can't, as a species, process how much money was created. And
Yeah.
it just takes more money to own the assets. So
It's
yeah, you add in limited building because of high regulation. You limit interest rates go up, so building crawls to a stop. You point that out in your daily update today. Everybody talks about there's 9 months supply, unless you look at actually what's finished.
yes.
Now it's only a little over a month, right?
Yeah.
So I'm still calling, and I don't even have a dollar in it because I go into the Warren Buffett camp of even if I knew what the market was going to be in 2 years and what interest rates are going to be in 2 years, I invest exactly the same thing. Am I ready to buy? Did I find a great deal? So you guys are more into the like you make project, you're both smarter than me, so I can understand you would want to do something with your brain power. I'm the lazy
Different smart.
So I'm more in Mike's camp. I think we're closer to me being right.
Yeah, I agree.
And especially if we go local. I don't know what's going on in Boston or in Vegas or California, but 31% appreciation in Washington State. So you go local, I'm like, yeah, 10% was way off. I paid $400,000 for a duplex that I can now sell for 7 and walk away with 7. I'm talking after agent fees, after maybe not taxes, but it'd be close. That's not a crash or a correction, but that's so local. I can't say that's real estate.
Yeah, it's really funny because I think it's really funny. If I kind of blend together both of your opinions, I think I'm going to be right because I think it'll be flat. That's where I was. I think mathematically speaking, looking at the decades, we got all the appreciation in 2 or 3 years. To Matt's point, I think the second half will be slower than the first half, which will just whack off the 7% that we've seen currently, and we'll just end the year, I'll say plus or minus 1%, right? I'll call that flat. And
sorry.
the way that housing moves, it's a lot. The other thing that I think a lot of crash bros get wrong is they just don't understand how slow housing moves. There's this thing called price elasticity, or you could think of it as sticky. People just don't get how sticky it is, especially on the way down, unless you see inventory triple almost overnight. Then it becomes a feeding frenzy.
That's where go ahead. Sorry. No, go ahead.
No.
So that's the theory, right? My theory was always high end goes away, move up buyers still not there at 7. And so all the transactions, or a majority of 80% of the transactions, are happening median minus, which then sets the median correction. That was the only theory. It wasn't that I think we're going to see this massive pricing correction, because then I would have bet average. I bet median, because I believed that the makeup of the market was going to shift. I still believe that's what's going to happen. And that's a number that can fall quickly because, right? Because
it's a mix.
That's the mix, right? I don't believe that the average price is going to go down on a house of 10%. I don't believe that.
Median. Yeah. Median.
Right. What I absolutely believe is that top 2/3 of the market, or the top half of the market, I believe that they see more stress and more strain than they've ever seen. And that those transactions, even though they're a fraction of the transactions, I think a lot of those disappear, because now what I see in my market, and again, hyper local, but now what I see in my market and what's transacting is I've seen the median price break the record, but it was 8% down in January. So my number is, the truth teller is that first week of February, we get the report for Q4 of 2024. So February, that first week or two of February, when that report comes out, that's going to be my report card of, was I right? Did that part of the market disappear? And again, then that forces sellers. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm absolutely seeing inventory build in my markets of over median. Under median still sells.
Exactly. So I love that we brought this up, because this is what I was saying a year ago. And right now I'm going to run a victory lap because I was right. And where we disagreed mostly was the mix problem, which impacts median. You are going, the high end or above the median is going to disappear. The low end will transact, yank the median lower. Could have happened.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Still can.
It's not that fast. I don't think
I,
it can happen that fast. Because
I
again, let's
think
play it out. What are you basically saying? Unemployment's going to spike. People are going to be stressed. They're going to list their homes. Dude, have you not forgot about forbearance? The
no,
banks
I
have
don't.
fundamentally changed how they do that.
I don't think, no, I totally agree with you. 40-year mortgages, they've changed it. It's never going to look like 07, 08 again. It's never going to look like that. It's going to rhyme. And I'm doing a video this week that I'm working on. And you know what the rhyme is? I'll break the answer here. The rhyme is property insurance and taxes. That's the rhyme. That's the
Okay.
rhyme. That's what's going to create movement. But it's lack of jobs, insurance. I've talked to people in the coastal areas that are seeing increases their insurance, not 10%, not 20%, not 30%, 200%. 200%. That's what shifts everything because now you're managing an asset that you're literally giving your time away for free. And
Yep.
the other buyers haven't caught up to that yet. So you're trying to sell it, but then that's going to hurt the valuation because it's what's that return on my capital going to be? What's my yield going to be on that asset? So I believe, yes. So like I said, the part that I got wrong that I think is the biggest issue of why I won't get there if I don't is going to be jobs because
Yeah.
jobs have proven to be far more resilient than I thought. Because I agree with Dion, tech is 12%, but I read the local paper all the time. I read stuff from Massachusetts and Maine and everywhere up in my corridors. And what I'm looking at is I'm looking at schools not hiring teachers and
Yeah.
police departments not hiring cops and firemen not getting hired. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of that type of stuff. So it's not just tech, it's all of these different pieces. And even if it's just a piece of 10 pieces in the aggregate, that matters.
No, one of the things you're highlighting that is going to be a problem in 25 and 26 and 27 is the tax basis. And that's not necessarily residential. That's because of
No,
the commercial catastrophe
you're right.
and stuff
Mhm.
resetting. But to your point, they got to get that money from somewhere.
They do.
Yeah. So that certainly could be a problem. Dion, I'm sorry I skipped over you. What are
Oh, you're
some
fine. So
thoughts on?
when you guys first made this bet, I kind of tried to see both perspectives, and I tried to understand the higher end coming down, which would mean that the median would come down, even though where we invest and where the people who watch our content invest would go up. So I thought, okay, I could see both perspectives, except we're over 80% into the timeline and we're up 7%.
Mhm.
Right. So yeah, the top has come down on a few things, but we still have $35 million houses selling in Vegas, and there's enough big end sales that are happening where it hasn't been impacted. The insurance thing. So this is about the time of year I start getting these letters from our local auditor, and hey, because Washington does what Texas does. Every single year, taxes reset.
Yep.
Every
Us
single
too.
year.
Us too.
8 properties. I want to say it's half, but 5 properties, my taxes went down. 3 properties, my taxes are close to the same. Maybe one went up about $2,000 in estimated value of the thing. So taxes aren't an issue. My insurance, I'm in the 200% club. I had 1,300 insurance. Now it's 2,700, right? So I totally see it. That's not even $150 a month. Yeah, that's not going to break the bank. That's not going to kill. They can go up to 200-300%, 500%.
For
And you're
your
like, oh,
age
yep, no
portfolio,
new
that's
car.
not for your age portfolio. That's not a big deal on a $700,000 house, but on a $200,000 or $300,000 house on a portfolio that's 2 years old,
Right, but
that's
you're talking
nuts.
landlords versus, we have 43%
Mhm.
of the nation doesn't have a mortgage. So they're
Absolutely.
90% financed or purchased before 2020 or refinanced in 2020. So we've got
Mhm.
just the new buyers, a very small amount of people. It's like 8 million in the last couple of years, have a high price, high interest rate. Are they impacted by insurance going up in such a way that they're going to lose the house?
No,
So maybe, but everyone
no,
else,
I don't think so.
90% plus the 43% of the ones that don't have mortgage, is insurance going up from $1,000 a year to $10,000 a year doesn't make you lose the house.
Yep.
It
Agreed.
makes you pull in a roommate, move back in with mom and dad and rent the place. It makes you do all of these things, doesn't make you off sell. So I don't think that taxes and insurance is going to be that big of an impact. And the unemployment, I'm kind of with the mic on, it has to start, go for 6 months for unemployment, because in most markets, now there are some expensive ones, but most markets, I want to say 90% of markets, unemployment insurance pays your house payment and your car
Mhm.
payment, right? All through the 2020 events, I didn't have one late or missing rent payment, and I only had 2 tenants use rent relief for a couple of months. because unemployment paid enough to cover
Sure.
Class C rentals.
But my argument isn't that supply is going to come back into the market. That's not my argument, is that supply is coming back in. My argument specifically is no job. Yes, they have unemployment coming in, but they're not house shopping.
Right. No, buyers doesn't make price come down because we don't have forced sellers.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let me paint the picture of what I think is coming the next 6 months, because this is breaking news. I said this for the first time, I think yesterday, and did it on my daily financial news. Earlier, I think it was 7 months ago, I called the bottom on existing home sales at I called 3.9. It came in at 3.88. I'm gonna call that a win. I actually think 1 month between now and December, we're gonna break that low.
I agree.
I think transactions are gonna drastically slow down. But again, the median's going to be yanked higher because of what I said over a year ago. And this is what I think is happening. And I have some data from Lynchburg to talk about. Is what's actually happening right now is below the median, no inventory, first-time home buyers aren't listing. To Dion's point, they're kind of safe because they have 3% mortgages. Even if they get laid off, then they're going to have forbearance and blah, 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 blah. It's not coming. Not happening in 2024, in my opinion. But where we are seeing stress and where we are seeing inventory stack is above the median. So this numbers came from, I forget who came from, but Chris, I think. Lynchburg, I think it's Virginia. 275 is the median. 1/3 of the active listings today are below the median. 2/3 of the active listings are above the median, which is wild to think about.
It is.
So what is happening? We are seeing rising price reductions. Guess where the price reductions are? Above the median.
Everything.
Not below.
Correct.
Not below.
Correct.
So what's happening? We are seeing people who want to or need to sell above the median take 20, 50, shoot, 100K price drops. Then they sell. And then they yank the median higher because of the dearth of transactions. That is what's happening. That's what I called. So far, I'm right.
Yeah, I think those transactions get fewer and further between. I agree with you that obviously if something sells for 500 and the median's 400, then it yanks the median up. Obviously. Yeah.
Obviously.
However, it's all about transaction count there.
Correct.
And that's where I think there's going to be, I think as the year rolls on, it's going to be fewer and fewer and fewer transaction counts there. I think large, expensive markets like Beverly Hills, it doesn't matter what the economy's doing. Beverly Hills is always going to be Beverly Hills, and same with largely Seattle, right? Like when you are, and where Oracle is and where some of these absolute juggernauts are, where the average employee makes $250,000.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah.
So folks, we're gonna push this topic a little bit more. I got to jump for a podcast at 9 o'clock. Dion, where can people find you?
They can find me right here on YouTube, Dion Talk Financial Freedom, where I believe, like all three of us, we hope Matt is right, so that
I
can
do.
afford
I hope
hair
Matt's
care
right
products
too.
and
Yeah,
Matt
let me
can
be
afford
clear.
a shirt that doesn't have a hole in it.
This is your finest tip in contract negotiations.
Where choose lows.
It's like hitting something when it's already dead. If it's acting like it's already dead, no one does that.
Yeah.
So I'm already poor.
There you go.
But Lumberjack Landlord, YouTube, Instagram. That's where you can find me. Mike, good luck on your podcast.
Thank you, buddy. Take care. Later.